Are you confident? Do you have consistency? How much conviction do you have? I'm Daniel Gomez, the Confidence Architect, a business strategist, keynote speaker, executive coach, and best selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you unlock confidence to create consistency and develop conviction. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence. Welcome back to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we educate you, we inspire you, and boy, today we're going to motivate you. Today we have an amazing guest for you, Dr. J.L. Beasley. I'll tell you what, you want to get out your pen and paper and take notes right away, because remember, when you write down what you listen to, what you hear, you retain over 50% of it. So we're going to get to it. Dr. Beasley, how you doing today?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking.
Woo, look. The crowd is going wild for Dr. Beasley. Yes.
I love it. I love it.
I know the amazing woman you are, but do me a favor, introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, please.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here. I am Dr. Beasley, also known as Dr. JL, and I am the vice president, right? Because God is the CEO of my businesses, but I am the vice president of her Sisu, where I am so delighted to be able to provide resources for those who are intentional about moving past blocks, about setting healthy boundaries, and leading full and confident, authentic lives.
I love it. Well, doctor, I'll tell you what. Let's get right into it, because you bring a lot of wisdom. You bring a great perspective and truth to it. How does somebody get past the blocks in their life? What do you see out there as you're dealing with your clients and working with them? A, what causes these blocks? And B, how do you remove them? Right? Because I think we right at some point you're gonna have a block in your life, and how do I deal with it?
Well, Daniel, here we go. This is the part where people get a little squirmish in their seats, because we have, and I'm using we figuratively, we have created a culture where there is a lack of accountability. And people move about life with a victim mindset of, this has happened to me, this person has done this to me, or this has happened to me, and this is where I'm going to sit. Let me reposition my chair. I'm gonna get comfortable. I'm gonna sit here and I'm going to feel comfortable, and let me share with you all of the things that have happened to me. And when you become intentional about wanting to move past blocks and actually elevate and progress your life, it has to do with your mindset, and it also leads to being accountable. Looking back at those same instances that you think about of, this is my situation, these are my dynamics, and how have I contributed to these dynamics? What were the trade-offs that I allowed it to occur? And that's when the real work begins to help people move past blocks, and are able to look inward and do that inner self work so that they can grow.
I love what you're saying. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, you want to take notes, because she's telling you she's dropping wisdom. And I love it, because sometimes when we sit back and we just take on that victim mindset, I would say that most people don't even realize they're doing it. And they don't even realize they're doing it, because first of all, from what I've seen, and then second of all, they always blame it on the other person. So what do I mean by that, right? And then I want your perspective on this, is because we'll just say a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, you're dating, and something happens, relationship's over. Well, we'll just say the guy, since I'm the guy, I'm playing the victim. Well, it was her. Well, guess what? I made a decision to take her to dinner. I made a decision to ask her out. I made a decision to date her for a year before it went sideways. So I think that's the part most people miss. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, they miss that part. And, because it makes for great conversation when you're speaking with your family and friends about this horrible person or horrible situation. It feels good to say, well, my boss is horrible, or that guy or that gal was horrible, right? And then they can say, yeah, they suck and you're awesome and you're amazing. How dare they do that? Again, but when you pause and actually look inward to say, okay, what are things that I allowed? Now, the second step to that, because this is heavy work and no one wants to hear, especially in a conversation in their head with themselves, that there are opportunities for growth and opportunities to be different and be better. And so the very next step that's really important is forgiving yourself, releasing yourself for those mistakes, and being intentional about making better choices.
I love that. Man, this is gonna be a great conversation. So let's take it a step at a time. So somebody is sitting in their chair right now. They're playing the victim. What are two things that someone needs to be aware of that maybe they're not, that, hey, Daniel, you're stuck in that chair because you're playing the victim. Like, what is somebody, because I'll tell you, when I was younger, I didn't see it, but what are two things that you recommend that a person does, male or female, that can really say, hey, maybe you need to assess yourself this way or analyze this? What are two things that, because I didn't see it, I didn't see how much help I needed, to be honest with you. Like, man, if you would have told me 5 years ago how much junk I had in my trunk, I'd be like, you're crazy, right? I would have not believed you, to be honest with you. And now it's like, I still got all that left over, and I've been working on myself for 5 years, really. So so how does somebody come to the light, right? Come to that moment where they're like, wow, maybe help us to break through that blindness.
One technique that I love is the 5 whys. And some people might be familiar with it from an industry perspective or a corporate perspective. And so it's usually, it's a technique used in Lean Six Sigma, where you're looking at processes and how you can be more efficient and how you can eliminate waste. Well, I've taken that a step further and transitioned it into just your everyday life. How can I live my life more efficiently as just a human being in the environment? And so when you have these, I'll speak for myself. So, I don't want anyone listening to feel uncomfortable. I want them to still have their comfortable position in the chair as they're listening, because they're great, they're perfect, they're fine. So me, because I'm still evolving just like you and working on myself and unpacking bags and all kinds of things of that nature. But I look at a technique I use is the 5 whys.
Yeah.
And so when I come across, whether it's a feeling I have, something I am upset about, there are times that I will ruminate because I'm human, and I'll go, oh, I can't believe that happened, or I can't believe I said this, or I can't believe that I'm in this situation. And then I'll get down and dirty and I'll pull out the journal. That's the first step. I really believe in the power of writing things down, because you can look back at it and assess and reflect and make another plan. So I'll write down my 5 whys. And so, well, why, JL, do you feel that way? So I'll write that down. Well, this is why I feel this way. Well, why do you feel that way? I'll give an example. I had a situation where I had a conversation with someone, and I had so much anxiety after the conversation. And I allowed myself to ruminate over a period of days. And so I went through the 5 why process. So why do you feel that? Well, I feel like I could have said it a different way. Well, why do you feel like you could have said it a different way? Well, because then they asked me to respect the boundary that they had. And I feel bad because I didn't put my boundary out there first. I flexed on my boundary, but they didn't flex on theirs. And so, well, why do you feel bad about that? Well, because I didn't honor myself. And so, well, why didn't you honor yourself? Well, because I was coming from a space of lack of confidence. Well, why are you not confident? Well, I wasn't confident because I was engaging with this person because there was a step that I didn't do. And so it allowed me to enter the situation with lack of confidence. I didn't value myself. I flexed on my boundary. They held me accountable to respect their boundary. And so now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come from a place of confidence. I'm going to speak my piece. I'm going to operate in my boundaries, and then I won't have this feeling again, right? And so it's just processing through getting to the core, because sometimes we do what I call Band-Aid work. I'm just going to list the first thing. I'm going to work on that first thing. And so I could have stopped that. Well, I just need to let the person know how I feel. But I would not
Yes.
have went any deeper to the core of what the issue was, and I would have found myself in the same cycle again.
So it's really what you're saying, really a lot of it is just truly being honest with ourselves at a much deeper level.
Hmm.
I spoke in Hawaii here this past May, and it just happened that there was a big old planter box there, and it's like it's easy to do the topsoil. It's easy because it's already fluffy, it's already cultivated, but the deeper you go down in the soil, the rockier it gets. Now you need tools. Now you need maybe a bigger shovel. The shovel didn't work. Is that kind of what you're saying, right? It's like we because we're so used to being. I think sometimes it goes back to where right we're just shallow sometimes as human beings, and I think as human beings we need to go deeper because that's where the real stuff is at, right? That's where the real junk in the trunk is
That's
at.
where that's where the meat and potatoes are. And so if you can get to the meat and potatoes, you will be much more full, much longer than just eating a very high carb, high sugar snack that's going to give you a short high and a very quick low.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you do this 5 why exercise, what are some of the things that people realize? Like, wow, like what are some breakthroughs that they have that people that have worked with you, doctor?
What people come to realize is that all of the power is within them, and that they have the ability to create the reality that they desire. And so they understand that they are a pure soul, that they are a powerful being. And from there, it helps them to understand that they have, to a degree, so much more control over their circumstances. And it doesn't mean that all of the things that are still issues are going to go away immediately once you have this realization. It just now means that you have so many more better tools to navigate through the issues and navigate through the issues much more successfully than before because you're coming from a place of power and not from a place of victimization.
I love what you're saying because I never realized when I was younger that really I had the power to create my future. No one ever teaches us that at school. Like no one, where's it at? Hello, like right, create your own future, class 101. Sign me up. But really, in life, I'll never forget when I was little. We used to go to this, and here in San Antonio, there was a big old grocery store called Handy Andy. And then Handy Andy was, I mean, it was dominating. I remember going because we would always go to Handy Andy when I was a kid. And then there was a shift in which I would go into this other store called HEB. And then within time, HEB surpassed Handy Andy. And then Handy Andy filed for bankruptcy. And then Handy Andy eventually went out of business. And I always wondered, right? Like, why is this one out of business and this one exploding, right? Like, I didn't like this one they got lucky, right? They got lucky. But it's really, they created their own destiny because they did things, HEB, that Handy Andy didn't do. And it has to do with leadership, with how we think. But they created that future business. So I say that because we have the same power right now with what you're saying, doctor, is to truly create the future that we desire if we don't allow petty circumstances and situations to take over us. Is that correct?
Correct. It's and you're right. It's not taught in schools. I don't remember my parents looking at myself or my sibling and saying specifically, you have the power to create. It was more of a space of what society will allow you to do, how far society will allow you to go. And here are some things you can do so that they could possibly consider you. And the number one component was going to school. You know, when you come from a different socioeconomic status, my parents didn't have the ability to go to college. So for them, making it was, we can have our kids go to college. And so that was what they pushed. You know, you got to go to college. You have to go to college. You have to go to college. Now, because of where I am, I'm able to have different conversations with my son. And I have, it's kind of comical in a sense. He's a teenager, but we talk frequently about coming from a place of power and putting out in the universe what you want. And it starts with a thought. And once you start it with a thought, it then flows through your actions and then it manifests into what you've been asking for. And so here I am, I'm saying it. And one day he comes downstairs and he goes, I manifest and I'm speaking because I thought about it. And so it's going to happen because you said it will happen. I want Robux so that I can, it's money for a game he plays. And I was like, that's not exactly how it works. Let's try this again. He was like, but you said, I was like, you know what? Okay, we'll try it again one more time. You can manifest Robux. I'm just not going to be the supplier of it.
Wow. Yeah. But really, that's how much power we have, and we don't realize that. You know, I think about the words that we say, right? And I'm glad we're talking about this topic, because it's not just some pie in the sky, you got lucky. No, like, people need to understand that what we speak, we create, right? It starts with the thought.
Absolutely.
I do this training, and it's silly, right? Because it's silly because I make people do it, right? I say thoughts become words, become things. And I make them stand up, grown adults, thoughts become words, become things, because I want to anchor it in them. And what you said, it all starts with the thought, and we don't realize it, because the actions we're taking are because of the thoughts that we have. So, ladies and gentlemen, think about what me and Dr. Beasley are talking about. What thoughts are you currently having right now? And what actions are you taking because of those thoughts? Or better yet, what, right? Because of those thoughts, what actions are you not taking? What's the cost of inaction, of you not doing what you need to do? Right? The doubt sets in.
So big.
Yeah, talk to us, right? So, right. An example, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to turn over to Dr. Beasley, is you have the thought of, man, can I really be a motivational speaker? So guess what? You have that doubt. So now what happens is you don't even go apply for that speaking engagement because you doubt yourself that you can do it, or you don't even go and film that speaker role that you need to do because the doubt sells you that you're not good enough or that you can't do it. So it causes the inaction of nothing. You just sit there. And then this is the biggest thing, and I can say this because I'm a Christian believer, right? Then we expect God to do everything for us. God bless me, and I'm just sitting here like your chair. And no, God, it doesn't work that way.
No, he specifically said faith works. You got to have faith, yes, but you also have to put in the work. If you don't do that, then it's just dead. It doesn't go anywhere. So we have to definitely put in that work. But you touched on a point which is so important, and that is the inaction. You know, people think about the action, but what are the inaction is just as important as the action piece, because what you're not doing, you're pushing yourself that much further away from where you should be and where you really want to go. And I'll even go with that example. What I have conversations with people frequently about is take the things that you do in your life every day, and you can take those things, start with one thing, and you can market yourself as an expert with that one thing. You just have to think bigger. You know, when you have people, bless you, when you have people that say, this one woman in one of my groups, she said, I'm just a housewife. And I was like, just? Yeah. What is, you know, that definitely lets me know where your mindset is about the work, you know, how you contribute to your family. But because she needed to go back into the workforce. So she was feeling in a space of, I'm not confident. I haven't worked in X amount of years. I have nothing to contribute to the industry. And I said, oh my goodness, your ability to prioritize multiple people's needs in a short period of time. So you can speak to that and give examples of that. Your ability to organize schedules and maintain timeliness of people's organized schedules. Your ability to communicate with different people with different personalities, with different needs, and meet them where they are. These are all skill sets in just a housewife. Yeah. And she was like, oh, can you write my resume for me? And I was like, yes, that's an investment for that, though.
Let me send you the invoice first. But, you know, I love the conversation we're having, because this is what I realized, doctor, is that most people undervalue themselves. So if you undervalue yourself, just a housewife, well, then you undervalue, right? You put that frequency out there, you put that energy out there. And we're talking about manifestation in the sense about this. Well, that's what you're going to manifest. You're going to manifest a life that's undervalued. You're going to manifest the energy that, this is the worst thing that people don't realize. You're going to, since you're putting out that frequency, you're going to attract those type of people to you. And God told me this, and God told me this the other day, because we have some, right? We're having our Millionaire Mind, our boot camp, and all these things going on. He goes, Daniel, because right, I mean, even though someone's had success, you still like, okay, I don't want to overthink, but then you overthink, what do I charge, or what's this? This is what God told me. Daniel, if you never put the intention out there in the world, you're never going to attract the customers for that product. If you never put the intention out there in the world, you're never going to attract the right customers for that product at that price point. So how are you going to know if you don't even put it out there? If there's no intention. And it hit me in the face. I was like, wow, right? Because when you bring the value, you raise the price, you're going to attract a higher quality clients. Not that they're better, but it's just they think differently, right? They're in a different arena. And then if you raise your price again, well, guess what? Deliver the value, because if not, it ain't going to last. Because I believe in delivering value. And talk to us about that.
I'm going to go back to the beginning. We're going to take this all of the way back to Genesis. Okay. And
what's the word?
I'm a Christian. We're going back to the word. Because for me, it's so much a part of the core of who I am. And I was not a believer. I was a model of the word, but I was not a believer of the word. And so what I mean by that is I grew up in the church and I heard all of the information. I can flip to the book you want to flip to. I can tell you if it's Old Testament, New Testament, quick. So I have that. I can model that for you, but I didn't believe it. It wasn't here or here. And so I remember coming across, once I started actually having intentional relationship building with God, and I remember being brought back to the beginning and was specifically pointed out how God said, let there be. And then it was. And the person brought it around back to me and said, so we have God who said this, right? Use these words. And now we also have in scripture that God is in us. And so we think, okay, if I do these things out here in the world, that those things are sin. But the biggest sin that one can do is not honor the God who is inside of them. And they were breaking down for me how we think about God in terms of I show up at a place and I behave and model myself appropriately in this specific place that we show up at on Sunday, whether that's 9:30, 10 o'clock, 11:30.
Yeah.
Versus how do I show up every day, every moment of the day for the God in me and honor that God in me? And so as you mentioned, okay, so if the God in you is saying you have this purpose you need to fulfill, and you need to go out there and put the intent out there so that you can meet people's needs, because it all comes full circle. And so how can you meet someone's need if you're not honoring the God in you? And to me, that's the greatest sin. Not only are you sinning to God, but you're sinning to yourself, because you're now not contributing to the universe and meeting the needs of your sisters and brothers that need your service, that need that information from you so that they can grow and be the best version of themselves in the way that the God in them needs them to put out information as well. So it's all full cycle. We feed and supply one another in this way. And once I heard that, I said, I definitely don't want to not honor the God. And it opened my eyes, and it helped me to understand that this is why we have the power to create, because we are the same words of let there be. Those same words of let there be is right in here. And so I can speak with that level of confidence and authority and say, let there be provision, let there be help.
Yes.
And I can transition that to I am, and then speak those same words.
I love what you said though. I think you answered the question why it doesn't work. People know how to set proper, people know how to model behavior. People know how to read, so they know how to read the scripture, or people know, right? People can model the behavior or model what it is to do it, but the activation, the key ingredient is you have to believe.
Correct.
And without faith, it's impossible to please God. So maybe you're wondering, God, I'm going through the motions. I'm doing what Dr. Beasley told me to do. I'm not getting the results. This doesn't work. It's all hocus pocus. She's lying. Daniel's lying. I can't be a millionaire. You can go, you can model the behaviors, you can model the actions. Maybe your problem, ladies and gentlemen, is you're not believing it. That's powerful, what you just said, Doctor.
It is so powerful. It gives me the chills every single time I go back to that thought of the power of believing.
Because we think, right, this is what comes to mind, right? We think because somebody, and I'm just saying this because we were talking about it, right? We think because somebody can quote scripture that, oh, they're holy. No, they're not. I mean, that doesn't mean that God has their heart, but you're making me, I'm like, wow, that's a powerful enlightenment of what you just said. Just because somebody can model something doesn't mean they believe it.
Well, the devil was an angel, right? So he can quote scriptures with the best of them.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to believe and believe with that good intent. And then, like you mentioned, do the actions. So I have a thought, I believe, I'm going to do my affirmations, and now I am walking with confidence and authority as I exercise out those affirmations. One component I used to say, and I honestly did not understand it. I said, because I know you speak frequently about your past in the automotive industry. And so I am in the corporate healthcare industry. And I would frequently say, my position of self-actualization is to become a vice president of a healthcare system. Followed by, now hear this, followed by, I think when I get the position, I probably would do it for about a month and I will likely quit. I don't see myself doing it long. And then people would have this very confused look. Okay, so you want to become a vice president, but you already know you're not going to stay in that position long. I was like, no, I just want the title.
I want the title and the money.
I just want the title, add that to my CV, and then I'll likely quit and go back to doing something else. But the part that gave me great pause and fear was I didn't know what the something else was, and that scared me. I was like, I'm going to make it to a certain level, and I'm not going to be happy because I really don't want to do it. I just want to do it for the superficial Band-Aid. Well, and then I'm going to quit.
I love that, so Doctor, I love the conversation we're having. Somebody right now, right, ladies and gentlemen, the life you're living, you manifested that, you created right now. All your problems, all your headaches, you're responsible. Take responsibility right now. Would you say that person? Would you say that person right now is listening to this, or maybe you haven't had the results you want, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be more loving, right? But I want to be real because I want to add value to you. Maybe the result hasn't shown up, it hasn't been created, hasn't been manifested, but take responsibility. The results you've gotten to this point, you've created it. Your outer world is a reflection of who you are on the inside and what you believe now, right? So, Doctor, what are 3 steps that someone can take, that they're listening to this podcast episode right now, and they can really take these 3 steps to start creating the life, not a life of, I don't want to say the life of abundance because I don't want to sound hokey, but a better life for themselves, whatever that is for that individual, right? To improve their status 1 level up, or maybe 2 levels up.
One thing that they can do is they can go back, if they take time to reflect back. We're going to go do some inner work and think back to a point in their life where they first felt disappointment. And then if they can use imagery with it, it's powerful. So if they can then go back to that point in time in their life, and then maybe even find a picture of themselves. And then if they can pull that picture of themselves and look at that self-image and dig deep on why they were disappointed. So again, do the 5 whys of why that was disappointing to them. Then write down what were their hopes and dreams at that time. Because that's likely, for a good portion of people, that's likely the moment that they pivoted and started occurring in the environment differently, not living to their full potential, living in a space of fear, living in a space of lack of confidence. But go back to what were their hopes and dreams at that time. Forgive themselves for not pursuing it. Forgive themselves for living in that space of lack of confidence and fear. And then after they go through that work, the second step that they can do is then start the work of honoring what their hopes and dreams were at that time. So since you said speaker, I'll use that as an example. If that person's hope and dream at that time was, I want to speak to people, or I want to perform a service for people in this way, then go and start doing the work of performing the service for that people, and not from a space of, I don't have the tools, I don't have the resources, I don't have the knowledge base, because likely, because our God always provides, likely there's components of your life that he was just giving you as you were sitting comfortably, that was preparing you, little seeds that were preparing you for your true purpose. And so you can draw from that. And we're so fortunate in this day and age, because there's so much free content out there. Before, I think some people think, oh my goodness, I have to pay for all of this stuff. There's Google University, there's YouTube University. Go out there, educate yourself, put yourself out there. And when you're operating in your purpose, the financial resources are going to come. It's going to start flowing. And then as you grow financially, you can continue to pour into your craft and continue to grow and evolve. But that's the second step, going back to what you want it to do and actually operating in that. And then the third step, which is you have to do simultaneously almost with the second step, is you got to do it from a place of power, confidence, and belief. Even when there's nothing happening, because there's going to be a period where there's no movement. You're not even going to realize, like, oh, I don't see or feel, I don't smell it. I should probably quit and give up. But that's the moment that you dig deeper and continue going, because someone, I trust you, but trust me, I should say, someone is watching you. They may not like it. If you put it out there on social media, they may not ever call or text you and tell you, but they are watching and they are benefiting from it. And they want to see God work in you. They're waiting to see, even for proof for their own movement in faith of, oh, this person is operating in this way. I'm watching silently. Oh, this person is now doing this. Now I'm inspired. I believe I can actually act in my purpose now.
I love it. You know, what comes to mind is when you were saying that, is maybe they've had their light dimmed, right? They had their light dimmed, and it's maybe this is what comes to mind is you have a parent unintentionally, not even realizing they're doing that. They tell their son or daughter, you can't do anything right? Maybe they wash the car stay dirty, or they wash the, I remember my mom would always say this to my sister, you can't wash the dishes right? They're all greasy. Well, after a while, you start to believe that you can't do anything right. And then you go on an endeavor to become an entrepreneur, whatever it is, and that record starts playing, right? You can't do anything right. And you got to change that.
Absolutely. And it starts with that thought. We are energy beings. And so going back to Genesis, let there be all of this was created by energy. And so we are energy beings. God is in us. We have that same level of magnetism in us to attract. And so that thought also is energy transference of I attract good people and good things to me.
I
right?
love that.
And so if I say that and I believe it, then that's what's going to come to me.
You know, I've noticed you're a big affirmation person. Why do affirmations work?
Well, okay, it goes back to you can just say the words. You can just say the words and not have any belief in them, and it's not going to do anything, right? That will be similar to me having this cup, and if there was nothing in this cup, but I just had it as a prop, and I was pretending to sip from it, but I'm saying my throat is still dry. I'm still parched. My voice is cracking. I have no idea. That's because my cup is empty and it's just a prop. And so you don't want to have affirmations as a prop, just nice words around you that you really, in your heart and in the core of your soul, you don't believe. And so affirmations work to me because not only am I saying them, I am believing them.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe you've never really been one to say affirmations. But the reason I brought that up is I noticed you've been saying affirmations throughout the interview. And then one of the affirmations that I thought about when you what you just said is people go out of the way to be good to me. I say that all the time every morning. I truly believe that. And people give me cuts in line, or people buy me something at Starbucks or whatever. People go out of the way to be good to me. But if you truly believe that, then it opens up new opportunities for you.
It absolutely does. And I tell you, I came into this and I left this part out for the listeners. So how I got into finding my purpose, and I send lots and love and light out to this person because I'm grateful. I am where I am today because of the experience, but I am a survivor of domestic violence. And I say I'm thriving past domestic violence. And it did take that encounter with domestic violence to wake me up from living a superficial life. And so from there, because like I said, I was modeling all of the things I could quote with the best of them, but I didn't believe it here. I didn't believe in myself. And so from there, it was me doing that deep inner work. And when I started my healing journey, because I had no idea what domestic violence was, and I work in healthcare. I know the script they tell us to look for, but it honestly does not look like that. So as I was experiencing it, I had no words to describe it because it didn't look like what the person looked like on Lifetime Movie Network, and it didn't look like what they tell us to look for in the hospital. So I didn't know the words for it. And so as I was going about my healing journey, I said, I have to be very vocal about this with people, because if I can just save one, I said, I'm doing this just to save one other person. And I have recently started another business, and I've been very busy with the work, all of the beginning work. You know, you have a new baby, and I'm trying to put lotion on the baby and diaper the baby.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing all of those things. And I realized I had not checked, audience, don't pay attention to this. I have a plan. So I had not checked my business, her Sisu business email. It was about a good week, and I had not checked it. And here's the part about mindset that's going to come in. I had an email from someone, well, several emails from someone in the course of this short time period, where they have found me on the internet. Daniel, look, as they say it in slang terms, I have a teenager, so I use slang terms sometimes. I am out here on these internet streets. I'm out here. And so, you know, I'm posting content. And as I mentioned, audience, you're doing the work and you're thinking, is something happening? Is this reaching someone? Is it effective? And here I had several emails where this woman was reaching out to me as a speaker, to be a speaker at an event. And she sent one email, and then she sent a second email, and then her third email was like, oh man, you know, we really needed to finalize a decision in a short period of time, and I really wanted it to be you, but we know we have to move on. And there was a slight moment where I was like, oh man, I missed an opportunity to speak to a group of people. And I said, that's not the attitude to have, because I got to be accountable, right?
Yeah.
I missed a week of not checking my business email, so that's on me. And so now what's your plan, Dr. JL, to get back on track with being organized? And I did send an apology email to the woman. And then I prayed for whoever the speaker is that they found, and that, God gives them the message to reach the people in the right way. And then I celebrated, because I said, I'm out here on these internet streets that someone found me just randomly. That was a win for me. I was like, I'm curious, how was it an Instagram post? Was it a Facebook post? Like, what was it?
You're out there in them streets, doctor.
I'm on the internet streets. And I was so super excited. You would have thought that someone had written me a 5 to 6 figure check to go speak somewhere, but I was in here celebrating and praising God and very excited about it. And then a couple of emails down, there's another email from a woman who attended one of my support group sessions. She's a woman from Canada, and she emailed and talked about how one of the sessions I talked about forming a safe exit plan, and that she went back and did the reflective work and formulated a safe exit plan. And she emailed me to let me know that in the month since she had heard me speak about that she had not only formed a safe exit plan, that she found work, and that she found a safe place to stay for her and her children. And she wanted to let me know that she was doing well, and she was so super happy and proud of herself for taking that big step. And I was like, oh, look at, you know what? Oh my gosh, all of these blessings that are coming forward and pouring forth, that made my day. And that was my ROI for me.
So let me ask you this. I know you have a book. Talk to us about your book before we come to the end of this interview, because I want people to get a hold of what you have to offer them, because you're doing amazing things. So talk to us about your book here for a moment.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start off. I'm an author of 3 books, and so you can find me, as I mentioned, on the internet streets. I'm on Instagram as her Sisu. That's HER_SISU. And I understand Sisu might be a funny word, but Sisu is actually a Finnish word, and it means, for the Finland people, it means grit, determination, bravery, tenacity, and purpose, resiliency.
That's me.
So that's
I'm
the word
Sisu.
Sisu. You're in Sisu. I'm in Sisu. And so for them, it's a way of being. Are you in Sisu? And so, yes, Daniel Gomez Inspires is in Sisu.
Yeah.
And so a part of that is on my website, which is hersisu.com, HERSISU.com. I have a free confidence guide. And so if you want quick steps on how to improve your confidence level, that is a resource for you there. For those of you who are navigating the role of co-parenting with another person that you are no longer intimately with, I have a co-parenting guide on Amazon. But my first baby who is growing into a toddler, is A Journey of Love. Let me get it in the camera good. The A Journey of Love reflective workbook. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble online, but it's a reflective workbook journal. And in this journal, there's 10 chapters, and each chapter has space for you to reflect on your own, along with prompts. Let me move it here.
Yeah.
Prompts and questions that you can think about. And I'm even open and vulnerable and transparent in this reflective workbook, where I share actual journal entries from my own journal about experiences I have been through, just so that to help you process, to help you turn those wheels and start thinking about, how do you set healthy boundaries? How do you honor and love and respect yourself? So A Journey of Love, a reflective workbook journal.
So go to Amazon and get that. And then we'll have that in the show notes too. So I love that. Doctor, let me ask you this. What's a scripture or a quote that you rely on in time of adversity? A scripture or a quote that you rely on time of adversity?
My favorite all-time scripture from the time that I was 7 years old is, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Philippians 4:13. Now that is one I believe in wholeheartedly. So when I am going through anything, whether it is a peak moment, I'm on the mountaintop, or a valley moment and I am in despair, I think back to if he says I can do all things, not all things, for real, all things through Christ.
Believe it. So do me a favor. Before we close out, I want to close a little bit differently. Look in the camera. Speak to that man or woman that they don't have the life they want. They're about to give up, maybe on their life, maybe on their business, maybe on their marriage. Do me a favor, speak some life into them for a moment, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. For the person who is listening, I get it. I have had times in my life where someone didn't believe in me, and I allowed those very bad seeds to root and sprout in me, and I functioned and operated from a space of lack of self-value, lack of confidence, lack of self-worth. It impacted how I occurred in the environment. Have you experienced those moments? Have you had times where you realized and recognized that you too weren't operating from a space of confidence, from a space of value, from a space of authority, from a space of being a powerful being? If you have, are you ready to make a change in your life? Are you ready to operate from that space of authority and confidence and value? If so, I want to invite you to connect with me. Connect with me on, you can find me at www.hersisu.com. And as you are going through the thought process of how do I reach out to her, what does that look like, I invite you to spend some time with yourself. Find a piece of paper. If you don't have a formal journal, sometimes I'm gonna be elementary with you. Sometimes I don't have my journal nearby. If you're at my house, I invite you for tea. You're gonna find a whole bunch of notepads all over my house, because I want the ability to be able, whether I'm in the kitchen cooking, I have one that has grease spots all over it, or in my bedroom or in my bathroom that has perfume spots all over it. But I can still jot down what's on my mind and heart. But take that time to really get still and honest and real with yourself and do your 5 whys. Do your 5 whys. Reflect on whatever thought that you have, that space of lack, because God did not create us to be in a space of lack. He didn't create us to be in a space of where we're not powerful beings. And write down, get to the core of it, of what has led you to be there and what do you want to do about it. And know that I'm here as a resource for you. Daniel Gomez Inspires, we're both here as resources for you, because we want you as our brothers and sisters in Christ to live your best, full and authentic life.
Love it. Boom, baby! I could have said it better myself. Dr. Beasley, ladies, she's out there in them streets.
In the internet streets, you can find
internet
it.
Streets. Woo, woo, woo. Go out and get her book. Go to Amazon right now, get a copy of her book. Dr. Beasley, thank you so much for joining us here today in this amazing episode. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here this week. That's a wrap for this week's episode. We'll see you here next week. If you're stuck in life, if you're stuck in business, go to danielgomezglobal.com. That's danielgomezglobal.com, and do our free entrepreneur assessment. Send me a message through our website, through our contact there. Just tell me Daniel complimentary discovery session. And better yet, go to themakingsofaMillionaireMind.com. That's themakingsofaMillionaireMind.com. Get our book. We want to send you an autographed copy. Get our course. It's going to change your life. And not only that, November 18th and 19th here in San Antonio, Texas, the Makings of a Millionaire Mind Bootcamp. We've already sold 20 tickets. We're on our way to 75. It's going to be amazing. It's going to change your life. San Antonio, Texas, the Makings of a Millionaire Mind Bootcamp, November 18th and 19th. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you here on the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. Woo!
Woo!
This is Daniel Gomez, and thank you so much for tuning into our show today. We'd love your feedback. Please drop us a comment, and thank you for leaving us a review. Don't forget to subscribe to our show and share this episode with a friend. And my free gift for listening to our show today is a copy of my best-selling book, You Were Born to Fly. To get your free copy, go to DanielGomezInspires.com and get your copy today. That's DanielGomezInspires.com. And to elevate your life and business even more, follow me on social media at Daniel Gomez Inspires on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Together, we will discover the key that unlocks your confidence.